Good evening. Welcome to Election Night 2020. Tonight we have Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump, the incumbent president versus the most popular senator in the United States of America. Now let's go over some polling data. In their approval rating of President Trump, he is disapproved by 10%, meaning 40% of the nation approves of him, while the 50% of the nation disapproves of him, and 10% has no opinion. The national, as it stands now, Sanders plus 10. This is from the Real Clear Politics average. As you can see, Trump took ahead after the Republican National Convention, but then, after the DNC, Sanders took ahead and slowly started climbing up to his 10-point mark today. In Nevada, Sanders is ahead by 4 points. In Ohio, Sanders is ahead by 5, a state Trump won in 2016. Another state Trump won in 2016, Sanders plus 2. New Hampshire, Sanders plus 13, a very, very large lead in the polls. Pennsylvania, Sanders plus 10. Wisconsin, Sanders plus 12. And in Michigan, Sanders plus 9. Arizona, Sanders plus 3, a Republican state from 2016. Voted more than the Rust Belt did, and Sanders is ahead here, surprisingly. And in North Carolina, Trump plus 0.3. And in Florida, Trump plus 1. And in Georgia, Trump plus 4. It is now 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and 60 electoral votes in all the states in yellow's polls have closed. The state of Kentucky has been won by Donald Trump with 19% more than Bernie Sanders. The state of Indiana, Vice President Mike Pence's home state, projected to go to Donald Trump. 9 electoral votes out of the state of South Carolina, projected to go to Donald Trump. And out of the state of Vermont, we have 1% reporting, enough to call the state for Bernie Sanders a Democratic win. And in the state of Georgia, it is too close to call. Donald Trump is leading with 2% of the vote more than Bernie Sanders. In the state of Virginia, 13 electoral votes. Bernie Sanders is leading, but it's still too close to call. The electoral map is on your screen now, 3 for Bernie Sanders and 28 for Donald Trump. It is now 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and these states' polls have closed. The state of West Virginia projected to go to Donald Trump's 5 electoral votes. The state of Ohio is too close to call. Remember, Sanders was ahead by 5% in the polls. Here it is now an exact tie at the moment. North Carolina, too close to call, 15 electoral votes, 2% lead for Bernie Sanders. And the electoral map is on your screen now, 3 for Bernie Sanders and 33 for Donald Trump. The poll closings on your screen now. Every state in yellow's polls have closed, 169 electoral votes in total at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Oklahoma has gone to Donald Trump with a very, very large lead. The state of Missouri projected to go to Donald Trump, 10 electoral votes. The state of Tennessee, 11 electoral votes add to the Trump column tonight. The state of Alabama, one of the most conservative states in the union, does not have any precincts reporting at the moment, but it has closed. We do have enough information to call the state for Donald Trump. The state of Mississippi projected to go to Donald Trump. And the state of Illinois projected to go to Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama's technical home state. Maryland projected to go to Bernie Sanders. The state of Delaware projected to go to Bernie Sanders. The state of New Jersey projected to go to Bernie Sanders, 14 electoral votes. 11 electoral votes out of the state of Massachusetts projected to go to Bernie Sanders. The state of Connecticut, very, very close. However, there is only 1% reporting, meaning we expect Bernie Sanders' lead to expand. 7 electoral votes add to his column tonight. The state of Rhode Island, 4 electoral votes projected to go to Bernie Sanders. The state of Maine, all 4 out of its 4 electoral votes projected to go to Bernie Sanders by a slim margin. However, we have enough information to call all 4 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders. This is a flip from 2016. Out of the District of Columbia, 3 electoral votes projected to go to Bernie Sanders, even though there are no precincts reporting at the moment. This is a solid Democratic territory, and it will go to Bernie Sanders. The state of Pennsylvania is interestingly too early to call, with 1% reporting. Bernie Sanders has a sizable lead here, a 2016 Republican state. The state of Florida is too close to call, 29 electoral votes, a very big prize for both campaigns. New Hampshire is too close to call, Bernie Sanders 2% lead here. And the electoral map is on your screen now, Bernie Sanders taking ahead with 79 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 76. It is now 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and the state of Arkansas's polls have closed. The state of Arkansas will go to Donald Trump, taking 81% of the vote after 1% of the precincts reporting. This is a very, very big victory for him, 6 electoral votes. Now let's move on to some too close to call states at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 62 electoral votes in total. Ohio, too close to call. Bernie Sanders has a 1% lead. state of North Carolina, 45% reporting, Bernie Sanders with a 1% lead. The state of Georgia is too close to call, 2% lead for Bernie Sanders. And the state of Virginia, Bernie Sanders is leading with 4% more than Donald Trump, too close to call. It is now 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and all the states in yellow's polls have closed, 156 electoral votes in total. The state of Texas will go to Donald Trump, 38 electoral votes. Louisiana will go to Donald Trump, 8 electoral votes. The state of Kansas, 6 electoral votes, the red wall we're hitting here, going to Donald Trump. Nebraska, all 5 of its electoral votes are projected to go to Donald Trump. South Dakota, 3 electoral votes projected to go to Trump. With South Dakota, so does North Dakota go to Donald Trump, 3 electoral votes. Wyoming, 3 more electoral votes projected to go to Donald Trump, 2% reporting. New Mexico, 5 electoral votes called as the polls have closed. This is not a swing state in this election. Will go to Bernie Sanders by a margin of 20%. And the state of Minnesota, a Clinton state from 2016, projected to go to Bernie Sanders with a 12% lead for him. The state of Pennsylvania has flipped from the Republican column. You saw that Bernie Sanders was up very high in double digits in polling here. We do have enough information to call the state for Bernie Sanders, 20 electoral votes. New York, 29 electoral votes projected to go to Bernie Sanders by an overwhelming victory. The state of Colorado, 9 electoral votes projected to go to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, for legalization of weed, really helped him in this state. And in the state of Georgia, is too close to call, 16 electoral votes. Donald Trump has taken the lead here with 4% more than Bernie Sanders. In the state of Ohio, 18 electoral votes, Donald Trump ahead by 2%. In the state of North Carolina, too close to call, Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders evenly split. In the state of Pennsylvania, we just called the state, that was an error. In the state of Virginia, too close to call, 13 electoral votes too close to call, Bernie Sanders with a 3% lead. Florida, too close to call, 29 electoral votes, Donald Trump with a 3% lead after 70% reporting. New Hampshire, 4 electoral votes projected, too close to call. Arizona, no projection yet, too close to call, 50-50, very evenly split. And in the state of Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are evenly split again. In the state of Michigan, it is too close to call, Donald Trump having a 2% lead this time, 71% of precincts reporting. And the electoral map is on your screen now, 152 for Bernie Sanders, 148 for Donald Trump. If you're wondering what the light red and light blue means, it means which state and which party is leading. Right now, Donald Trump, if he won all the states he's leading, and now he would end up with 237 electoral votes at the end of this night. It is now 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and 4 new states' polls have closed. In the state of Utah, is now projected to go to Donald Trump by a margin of 8%, closer, very much closer than it was in 2016, however, still a Republican stronghold. In the state of Montana, projected to go to Donald Trump by 10%. And in the state of Wisconsin, has flipped from the Republican side, projected to go to Bernie Sanders by a margin of 14%. In Iowa, it is too close to call, 15% reporting, Bernie Sanders with a 2% lead here. And Nevada is interestingly too early to call. This does not necessarily mean too close to call, but we do not have enough information to make this a solid projection yet. However, Bernie Sanders is in the lead with 16% more than Donald Trump. The electoral map is on the screen now, 162 for Bernie Sanders, 157 for Donald Trump. It is now 10:47 p.m. Eastern Time, and we have 2 major projections, 29 electoral votes in total. The state of Virginia will go to Bernie Sanders, a Clinton state from 2016. Bernie Sanders will take the state and its 13 electoral votes. Along with that, will go the state of Michigan, another flip in the Rust Belt, projected to go to Bernie Sanders, 16 electoral votes, 88% reporting. We now have enough information to call the state for Bernie Sanders. It is now 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and 82 electoral votes. The West Coast polls have closed. The state of California is now projected to go to Bernie Sanders, 55 electoral votes. The state of Washington projected to go to Bernie Sanders, 12 electoral votes. The state of Oregon, 7 electoral votes projected to go to Bernie Sanders, 65-35. And the state of Hawaii, the home state of his vice presidential running mate, 69% of the vote here going to Bernie Sanders, 4 electoral votes. A Trump win. Now, Idaho, 4 electoral votes projected to go to Donald Trump, 57% of the vote here. Very, very drastic change from 2016. The electoral map is on your screen now. If Trump was able to win every single state that has not been called now, it would go to the House of Representatives. Bernie Sanders, 269, and electoral tie if Donald Trump is able to take all the rest of the states, to 161 for Donald Trump. It is now 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we have one projection. Out of the state of Iowa, Donald Trump is the apparent winner with 97% reporting. Donald Trump will win by 2%. His 6 electoral votes add to his column. It is now 12:14 p.m. Stand by for some major projections, 39 electoral votes in total. The presidency of the United States has gone to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders will be elected the 46th president of the United States. This is monumental. Bernie Sanders has won with 308 electoral votes out of 538. You need 270 to win. 2% lead in the electoral, 51% lead in the popular vote, but 308 to 167. 70% of the United States precincts as a total have been reported. These coming out of the states of Nevada, projected to go to Bernie Sanders, 6 electoral votes. This puts him over the top of 270. Donald Trump's re-election campaign's path has been foreclosed. Bernie Sanders will be elected the 46th president of the United States of America. Another state being called New Hampshire, 4 electoral votes, 95% of the vote here. Bernie Sanders is the apparent winner with a 4% lead over Donald Trump. And the state of Florida has flipped from the Republican column, another apparent winner here. 98% reporting, projected to go to Bernie Sanders. 29 electoral votes, a huge prize for the Sanders campaign. This is what puts him at 308 electoral votes. It is now 1 a.m. Eastern Time, and the state of Alaska's polls have closed. The state of Alaska will go to Donald Trump, 58 to 42, add 3 electoral votes to his column. And the electoral map as it stands right now, 308 for Bernie Sanders and 170 for Donald Trump. If you look on the map now, Donald Trump is leading in the outlying state of Georgia, while Bernie Sanders is leading in North Carolina, Ohio, and Arizona. It is now 1:19 a.m. Stand by for 3 major projections, 33 electoral votes in total. The state of Ohio has flipped from the Republican column. 2% lead for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders will win this. He is the apparent winner of the 18 electoral votes out of the state of Ohio. And 99% reporting in Georgia. A flip from the Republican column. Bernie Sanders is the apparent winner with 1% more. 16 electoral votes add to his count. And out of the state of North Carolina, Donald Trump is the apparent winner, 50% to 49%. 15 electoral votes projected to go to Donald Trump. And the electoral map is on your screen now, 342 for Bernie Sanders and 185 for Donald Trump. It is now 1 week later, and stand by for one major projection certified by the Secretary of State of the great state of Arizona. The state of Arizona will go to Donald Trump by a margin of 131 votes. He is the apparent winner out of the state of Arizona with 100% of precincts reporting. Donald Trump will take the state of Arizona by 131 votes. The final electoral map on your screen now, after all the election results have been certified in each state, 342 for Bernie Sanders, 196 for Donald Trump. The popular vote is on your screen now, 52% for Bernie Sanders, 1% for the third-party candidates, and 47% for Donald Trump. The chances of winning overnight, starting off early in the night, Bernie Sanders had a sizable lead and a sizable huge chance of winning the election. It started going down after more Trump states had been called. After some of the Rust Belt looked like it was turning to the Trump side, it became tied, and then Bernie Sanders went up. It became tied, and then by the end of the night, 100% chance of a Sanders victory. And I just want to talk to you guys about, please consider making a contribution to my Patreon. I'll have it in the description below. This helps me create my videos and expand my channel. I will be able to create more content easier with new software as the one that I invested in, that I posted before I made this video. Please comment suggestions for new videos, and I'm going to actually have a voting link where people that watch my channel can vote on what they would like to see next. There will be five options that you can choose from between election nights, election predictions, alternative history, things like that. And I wanted to thank you all for watching, and I wanted to thank you guys for 170 subscribers. My channel is growing extremely fast thanks to you guys. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.